Well, hello there, stamping friends. This is Traci Raether from Plum Crazy Stamping, and it is April 22nd, 2026, and it's time for our weekly card making lesson. As you're joining me today, please sign in using the comments in Facebook or on YouTube. And to do that on YouTube, you need to be in your Google account or your YouTube account, and then you can use the comments to sign in and let me know who you are and where you're watching from. Um, let's see. I thought I'd make today a little bit more exciting and do a little challenge. So I'm challenging myself to make 4 cards in 20 minutes and see how that goes. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to, the camera I'm going to do is to the supplies that I'm using and how I chose them. And then I'm going to go from there and actually set the timer to make those 4 cards. And then at the end, we will just summarize, the card designs and how we can make cards quickly. And also, if you have any questions or feedback on these cards, please put them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And we'll go from there. So let me put the camera down here. And you can see my desktop. And as I've shared with you before, I'm really focusing on our garden theme this month. And so I'm going to use the Cute as a Bug suite again because this has just captured my interest. And so I am going to show you the parts and pieces in person that make up this suite. But this is from the January to April mini catalog on page 42 if you're interested in looking at it up close, okay? So here's the designer series paper. And what I did, which is what I've shared with you many times, is I look at the back and here's all of the colors that have been identified as being in these different designer series sheets, okay? And when I looked at this, I decided that's how I pick my card bases. So I decided to go with either black, Poppy Parade, Mossy Meadow. I've got Very Vanilla, Cajun Craze, and Old Olive. So you're going to see some of these in the cards that I'm making. And then we've got the stamp set itself here, and I'm going to be using the sentiments. Otherwise, I'm using the die cuts or the images that I cut out of the designer series paper by fussy cutting them, and that's what I'm going to use today. So let me show you. I have some of these images already cut out and or die cut. So some of these have been fussy cut and some have been cut out. And then, I've been using this set all month so far. So I have little scraps that I'm just going to be using in the cards, and that helps me to speed up my process as well. And then lastly, there was a piece of designer series paper, actually 2 pieces, and what it had was 4x6 images, and I just cut them apart from that piece of designer series paper. Also, there were 3-inch by 4-inch pieces on this designer series paper as well. So I cut those out. And that's going to help me speed up my process as well. And then I had scraps of those same colored cardstock pieces that I shared with you that I'm going to use as card bases. All right. So with that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I've also pulled out my Memento Tuxedo Black, and I have Poppy Parade, Blackberry Bliss, old olive, my mossy meadow, in case I need those for my stamping. Okay. And then I've got a couple of these sentiments already put onto the blocks. All right. Let's get going. So I'm going to set my handy dandy timer here. This little owl, I just love him. Except when he gets almost ready to ding and I'm not going fast enough. Anyway, hi, Betty. Great you could join me today. Let's get our timer set for 20 minutes and it's a go here. Okay, let's get started. So card 1, and I won't be sharing a lot of measurements. Some of them I will, but I'm going to try to stay focused on the cards because you guys know how I get sidetracked. And I'm just going to share with you, these are the gems that go with this set too. All right, well, I decided I'm going to start with white cardstock. Hopefully all of us, if nothing else, we have white cardstock. And this is my regular medium-sized card that fits in an A2 envelope. I already had that scored at 4 1/4. And then I'm going to just put a 4 by 5 1/4 inch card front on here, and I'm just going to glue this to the front. Oops, stuck my finger plumb in the glue already. All right. And then I want to trim this to be just inside the 4 by 5 1/4. So let me just bring my trimmer up here. And I'm just going to do it by using my 1/8 measurements. So let's see here. I want this to be, this is 6 inches, and I want this to end up being 5 and I think 1/8. So let's see. And I want to keep all my little bugs in here. So I'm going to kind of go as close as I can to this. And cut that off. And then go to 5 1/8. Oops, I just cut the ant. Oh, well, I'll get over it. There we go. And then we've got the 4, and I want to cut just 3 7/8. And I'll cut that off the bottom. Okay. And now I'm going to put that on my card base. See, I get talking and it's hard for me to remember. But I just want that very thin base around it. And this time I'm going to take advantage of the fact that this is a whole scene on this card. And I don't want to cover up any part of it because I love the whole thing. So this is actually, I'm going to put some gems on the front to add to it a bit. I'm going to use these clear, like water droplet ones. And let's see, put one above our butterfly and down by our mushroom here. And one up here by the flowers. All right, that's the embellishments I'm going to put on here. And then I want to just add, I'm going to do Hello Friend because I really love the fact that these are all the little bugs are on here. I'm going to use my mossy meadow. And I'm going to put the only sentiment inside. And there we have our hello friend. And our first card is completed. Just going to wash off my sentiment in case I want to use that again. Okay. All right, let's bring in our second card. Now this one I'm deciding that I want to use one of the 3" by 4". And I'm going to use Old Olive on this one. And let's just do this now. I want to create a thin edge around this, just kind of, you'll see I have some of these scraps. This was very vanilla scrap that I'm using on this one. And so this is 3" by 4". And so I decided to just make the background here 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. Now I could just put this on the front and have that be the design, but I decided I wanted to add a little more interest. And so I'm going to put another background behind it, and then I'm actually going to put dimensionals behind the whole card front that I have created with that designer series paper to add interest that way. So let's just set this up here, and I'll show you how even putting the same color cardstock on the same color cardstock, when you put dimensionals behind it, really adds some interest to your card. So sometimes it's not about different colors and layers. Sometimes it's just actually popping it up that makes the difference. So let's just take these off. And then center that. So you can see that that even adds a little dimension. Well, then I want to make this a little bit more of a wow. I'm going to actually use another scrap that I had because I want to put this little bug on here, but if I don't put it on top of something, you can't see that he's holding a flower. So let's see how far down. I think what I'm going to do is just use the small dimensionals, and I'm going to take advantage of the fact that I have a little piece here that is the edge. I'm going to put it right on the edge to hold this down. I got to line up my edges here. Yep. Okay. And then I'm going to glue this little guy right down to that green piece. Have him sitting right on the bottom of the card here. Hi, Donna. Okay, and then I want to do a little bit more as far as popping this up. And I'm going to use just very mini dimensionals. And I've got 2 little die cuts of these daisies that are also on the front of the card up here, but this is going to make these pop. So putting a mini dimensional just on the card, the flower top itself. And then taking the sticky part off and adding some of this right up by the other daisies. All right. And there is that card front. And then I would just put whatever sentiment, and this could be for anything, wishing you well, hello friend, whatever. I'm going to leave this as an option. So that is card 2. Let's do card 3. I decided this time to use another one of those 3x4-inch panels, and I did the same thing. Made the very thin edge around here, which helps bring out the base of that mushroom. And then I thought, I'm going to double layer this one. So let's go ahead and fold our card base here. And then I've got the Mossy Meadow 4x5 1/4. Which I think helps to define all the colors that are in this top picture. All right. And then to add just a little bit more to the front of this card, I love this little guy who was a die cut, and I'm going to set him right on top of this mushroom and connect him with dimensionals. All right, and then I'm going to do something a little unique with this sentiment. Now, if you guys know any knitters, this is like the perfect card to send them. I have a friend that knits. I mean, many of them do, but one in particular, it's actually her business. All right, and then I'm going to take little pieces of what were actually scraps, and I'm going to stamp "Love You Lots" on these little circles. And I'm actually going to break up the sentiment. So I'm going to put "Love You" on this one. So I'm just going to ink up a portion of this sentiment. The "Love You." And then I'm going to wash it on my Simply Chamois here. And I'm going to, this time, ink up the word "lots." And I'm going to put that on the smaller circle on the bottom. Now this would be a scrap that I would have had to throw away if I didn't, kind of do something a little bit creative with these edges, because this was not even enough to punch out the whole circle. So, all right, let's go ahead and glue these down. And let's do the bottom. And there's our unique card 3. And now we're ready to make number 4. And I'm using the third 3x4. And I'm going to layer some old olive on top of the mossy meadow here too, just to do something different. And this time I'm going to just eyeball this and then use my trimmer to cut the final part off. So sometimes, you'll want to measure the 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. Sometimes you can just put it on here and bring in your trimmer and eyeball it. So that's what I'm going to do this time. A lot of different ways to get from A to B. All right, so let's put this over here and use, I'm looking at the track where the blade's going to go, kind of comparing that to the other side, making sure I have this square, and cutting. And get that out of my way. And that's a little bigger, but I think that's fine. And then top and bottom again. And we've got that good to go, And if this bugs you, right now it is bugging me a little bit. I'm going to just put it a little closer, and I'm actually going to cut it again. And now it looks equal to me, okay? Now the question is, do I want to do, oh, so close, guys. Okay, that's my 20 minutes, but anyway, here is, I like this with more of the light behind it. Let's see. So I'm going to glue that on quick. And then I'm going to glue this on. Putting this up just a little bit because I'm going to put a sentiment underneath it. I actually got one that says spread joy. Now, I'm going to cut this down a little bit. I think it's a little, well, wait, I want to put a bug on here. So I'm going to actually put the bug right on the stump there. And I'm still going to cut this down just a bit. And once again, just going to eyeball it a little. And a little bit off the top. There, I like the way that looks a little bit better. And then the question is, do I want it to be just straight or make it into a banner? I'm going to make it into a banner, so I'm just going to cut off the edge, and this edge. snip in the middle. Okay. And glue that in place. I don't want to cover up all the flowers, so I'll put it down here. There we go. Okay, and then my choice is, do I want him to have a friend on the front cover or put him inside? I think it's cute that they're both here. This one I'll pop up too. So I know I didn't make the 20 minutes, but I hope that I was able to share with you when designer series paper sets have these panels in them. It really helps to make your cards more quickly. And that each card can have a different appearance, even since these are in, similar sized. There you go. Let's see, I want to check if there is any feedback. Donna, thank you for sharing. Hi, Sue. Cards look great. Well, Horse Rider, thank you for joining. I'm not sure who you are, but anyway, last thing I just want to share with you, and if you're liking this cute as a bug set, with a $50 purchase, I do have a 4-card free tutorial that I'll send out at the end of the month for anyone that purchases those Stampin' Up products through Plum Crazy Stamping. And then lastly, with a $75 purchase, Stampin' Up offers a product every month that you can get for $5. And this month it is the Eyelet Blooms die, which is really unique. You can have these different pieces cut out, or you can put it on here as a background. So it's really cool. But anyway, with that being said, the next thing that I'll be doing is an in-person kit event on the 30th of April. And you'll be able to pick from 14 or 15 kits that I have and actually spend an hour and a half to 2 hours with other crafters doing a set that you like, whether it be card making or a project. So I'm glad you love the bugs, Betty, and you're very welcome. And thanks, Diane. I'm glad I know who it is. All right. Anyway, happy stamping, friends. Take care. Bye-bye now.